Welcome to Walking Skull episode 5. Now, unfortunately, we had a issue with the Zoom recording, so the beginning of it actually isn't there. That's why you can't hear Sean. See, that's where I normally have Sean fill in the blank. But we are going to join our adventurers halfway through talking about whether or not we feel James Corden in The Prom should have done a stereotypical accent. Enjoy!
All right. So as you're saying about, I think I'll just sort of like, but yeah, I think the stereotypical performances aren't particularly like great sometimes because obviously you want to make sure you portray that community in a very positive light and not go, yeah, this is what they look like all the time or act like all the time, and it's like it's not great because they're more human, they're more complicated than just a stereotype. So I think it's a bit weird that they're going to go over that sort of performance, especially from a straight performer like James Corden. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm up for like having any actor play certain roles like that, but come on, at least be a bit more respectful instead of being like, sure, I'll
Yeah,
play
I
stereotype.
just the rest of the cast didn't seem like they were 100% into it. You've
Mm-hmm.
got Keegan Michael Key, you've got Kerry Washington, you've got Nicole Kidman, and to be honest, the character that James Corden played, I would have cast by the guy who plays Trent Oliver, Andrew Rannells.
Randall's. I love Andrew Randall. He's so
I would
good.
have put him in that one. I don't know why. Obviously, there's name recognition, and you go, there's people who are fans of James Corden that will probably watch it because we put
Mm.
James Corden in a main role. But I would
Yeah,
have had them swap roles.
yeah. Like it's. I think there's a myriad of reasons. Because sometimes it's probably for the challenge. Sometimes it's probably because they know it's a recognizable name, or they just don't want to like put Randall's in the stereotypical gay role because they kind of thought, right, we know he's a better actor than that, so we'll sort of give him this role and see how he does. So I think it could be like for a myriad of reasons, but it is quite strange that like Corn did this role, and from what I've heard, it's just the most like borderline out there performance ever.
It was obviously not a gay man, so I can't really say anything on the thing
Mhm.
of being offended. But it was borderline, like it was offensive. It was like, remember the show Will and Grace? Like I was saying
Yeah, and
earlier,
they had the Sean
Sean
Harris, no,
Hay,
no, Hayes. There we
Sean
go. I
Hay.
don't know. Yeah, there we go.
They had the Sean Hayes character, who obviously back in, I think it was early 90s, that was the humor. It was an overly flamboyant gay man, and
Hmm.
Will was the straight man gay man, if that makes sense. He was the one that was
Yeah,
just a guy who was gay. It was that times maybe 1,000, where it was just he had a lisp, he was in an American accent. It was just I didn't see the point in it. But
mm,
obviously, the show could be loved by thousands. It wasn't really my thing.
mm.
So that's the rubbish I watched.
Yeah, like from what I've heard, the prom looked kind of. I wouldn't say looked kind of interesting. The cast stacked, and I like a majority of the people involved in the cast. But it wasn't really my thing because I love musicals, but I'm not really. It wasn't really my thing. It kind of looked like it was the sort of thing that Ryan Murphy was revisiting because Glee, and he made Glee, so he thought, "Hey, I could do this." And I got to be honest, from what I remember, he recently hearing that the film is based on a Broadway musical. Rather see the Broadway musical just because I think that'd be a lot more fun and engaging to sort of go see it in Broadway.
Ryan Murphy seems to be the type of producer slash director slash creator that just throws everything at the walls, and not
Mhm.
everything works. And
Well, yeah,
this is,
like.
in my opinion, this was not something that works because Ryan Murphy also does the 911 show that I watched. Like he's an
Mhm.
executive producer on that, and he's an executive producer on American Horror Story and obviously Glee and stuff. But
Mhm.
it just wasn't for me.
Yeah, I'm probably not gonna check it out just because it doesn't seem like my kind of thing, and Jesus, sorry, and I've got things that I'd rather be focusing on than like I don't know, prom musical, obnoxious musical. Oh boy, I might give it a chance at some point, but I don't know. Just it wasn't really my thing.
I wouldn't rush to see it. It's on
Hmm.
Netflix. It'll probably be on Netflix for a while. So I don't put it at the top of anyone's list who's listening. Like there's people listening.
um, all right, so shall I move on to the second item I have
Yeah,
here?
let's move on to your happier stuff.
Oh, happier. I don't know. I don't know about that, Chief. We're gonna hit Depression City real soon. The second item on my list, which recently came out this past Friday, is Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, the film starring Viola Davis
Oh,
and the
I want to see
last.
that purely
Oh,
because of Viola Davis and Chadwick Boseman.
yeah, and I was going to get to that as well. The last film of Chadwick Boseman, after his very sad passing this year. And here we go, the detail of the film that I'm going to read to you now, because again, off the top of my head, I don't want to, get anything wrong. Chicago, 1927. A recording session. Tensions rise between Ma Rainey, her ambitious horn player, and the white management determined to control the uncontrollable Mother of the Blues, based on the Pulitzer Prize-winning play by August Wilson, who is also one of the most, like, I think, um, one of the better playwrights in like America. Sorry, my brain broke for a minute. That caffeine
It's
really
fine.
did the number on it. So yeah, he wrote a screenplay, the screenplay adaptation for Fences, which got made after his passing in 2005. But I think he wrote a screenplay before his passing, which Denzel Washington made. Which, fun fact, Ma Rainey is part of a project that Denzel Washington's going for, where he's going to be where he's producing five film adaptations of August Wilson's plays. The first was Fences, which starred him and Viola Davis, where she won her Oscar for her incredible turn in the film. And the second, Rainey's Black Bottom. And let me tell you, it's probably the best one I recommend to you, just because it's an hour and a half long. And I think that's kind of incredible that they managed to like make a movie that's an hour and a half long and features so much like content within its movie. And off the
That's
bat,
good that that's an hour and a half long. Because usually,
yeah,
usually the stuff we know that usually the stuff Sean recommends is a good 2 hours.
yeah, I'll burst in the room going, guys, you gotta watch The Irishman. It's a 3.5 hour long. Stop, no 3.5 hours, can't do that, Sean. Get out of here. We can't do 3.5 hours. Anyway, so yeah, Marini's Black Bottom is like an hour and a half, and for an hour and a half like film, it's based on a play, which are more longer than like a film that's an hour and a half. It's very well done off the bat. Viola Davis and Chadwick Boseman, brilliant. Two of them, absolutely fantastic. Viola Davis gained a lot of weight and did a lot of like procedure work to play Ma Rainey. And her performance, Jesus Christ, what a performance! It's so well done, to a point where I remember like watching the screen and I had to do a double take. I didn't even recognize her. She just kind of vanished in that role. Probably because like obviously the stuff that she's done kind of helps, but at the same time, I'm looking at her and I'm like, that's not Viola Davis. That's Ma Rainey right there. That's incredible. That's fantastic. Where I think she's probably going to get like maybe a second nomination or even a win, just because it was just such one of those performances where you're kind of this sort of like, you kind
Viola
of forget
Davis
you won
should
someone.
she should win everything she's
Oh
in.
hell yeah!
Like that should
Just
have been the only Oscar Suicide Squad got.
like you open it up and they're like Viola Davis or Suicide Squad, and she just sort of goes, oh, "Okay, all right, I'll take it."
Like anything she does, she's great in.
Yeah, she's just one of those actors that's appeared in everything, and now I think it wasn't until like recently where now she's like being recognized as one of the best actors going. And going to Chadwick for a minute, wow. That it sucks that he passed, because geez, this is one of those like films where if he didn't die, this could have like helped him like with getting more performances. His performance as Levy, who's the horn player, the ambitious horn player, he was brilliant. And I guarantee you he's probably going to get an Oscar for his performance. It was so good. And there was a lot that goes on in his performance, from his mannerisms to the sort of like switching of moods, because there'll be August Wilson plays, and what I've seen are the sort of are plays are where characters will be kind of happy and kind of cheery 1 minute, and then something will happen, or they think of something, and then you sort of switch personality in accordance with the scene. Like there's a scene where like you'll have Levy come in and you'll just sort of be like, yes, I have all these songs written down, I'm going to be helping this guy with like the records. And then someone mentions like, say, God, and he turns around and he's like, hey, God didn't do anything for us, black people. And it's like very, very well done. And it's just one of those things that's just kind of tragic at the same time,
Yeah.
because he just had so much to give. And it's that sort of performance where you kind of sit back and you just can't believe that he's gone, and he managed to like leave one last great performance before going. Like Jamie Lee, he was excellent, along with the other like supporting cast members. They're all great, and I think him and Viola Davis just steal the show, and I guarantee you they're probably going to get like some awards recognition down the line. And everything else about it is just incredible. The screenplay that they have, again, for an hour and a half movie, so much happens, and there's like three or two monologues are like delivered so brilliantly and written so brilliantly. And there are moments that you wouldn't expect to happen in this sort of like film that length, and it just they all of it hits bullseyes, and it's not even like boring in the slightest to me. It was just engaging constantly, and the direction was really good. There's even and what's incredible as well is that the majority of it is just like set in one location, the recording studio, and it's just that sort of like thing I'm a sucker for. I love watching stuff that's like set in that one in one like location, and all of it is like done to this very incredible like level. And I don't even know what other positives to say about it. I thought Ma Rainey's Black Bottom was very very good.
Okay. I really want to see it. Like, I'll probably, to be honest, it's one of those films where unfortunately I keep on forgetting it's already out.
Yeah, that happened. That's annoying with Netflix films sometimes. Like unless you're a follower of like cinemas, like the film house or whatever, you'll get like I don't know, a week like screenings like 2 weeks before when the film normally comes out. So someone would probably be seeing it before and be like, guys, gotta check it out. And it's strange that you'll get some Netflix films that don't get promoted unless it has like a particular audience in mind. Like The Prom would probably be everywhere, but when it comes to something like Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, I haven't really seen it advertised unless it was on IMDb. So
Yeah, I've only seen it. I only knew it existed because Graham Norton had her on to talk about it. And
mhm.
that was literally the only time. And I think a couple of my podcasts have had adverts for it.
Yeah, like I think it wasn't until now. This is kind of annoying because I remember I was writing yesterday or a day before, and I put on Spotify, and Spotify started advertising it like a sort of like, hey, you know how this music was inspired? Like, this music's watch Marmoni's Back Bottom, and I'm like, it just came out a day after. Why is it being promoted now? That's really strange to me. Like, it's one of those like things I think you'd be promoting like the hell out of.
I think it's one of those ones where obviously nowadays there's a lot more targeted marketing. So
Mhm.
I think obviously the Spotify will hear you listen to a certain kind of music. My podcasts are a certain kind of podcast. It's all that kind of
Mhm.
stuff
It could be
where
that.
you'll just hear it getting picked up for no reason whatsoever.
It could be that. I just think it's really strange how they're not really promoting it that well, considering that, like you say, you didn't even know it was out, and so I just find that very strange how that's kind of the occurrence of Netflix. But either way, it's very, very good. I highly recommend it. And for an hour and a half film that's just mostly characters talking, I highly recommend it. Like it's just like it takes a great level of like skill to sort of make an adaptation of a play, condense it to an hour and a half, and just sort of give some of the best results you'll see, like from it. Like it's probably not going to make my top 10 because of like some things because of like I think there were films that came out that were better than it, but my god, the two performances certainly in the top 10 of like performances of the year, especially Chadwick Boseman. I just hope he wins an Oscar for his performance because again, it was so good and a very sad reminder that he had nowhere to go but up. So well done, Mr. Boseman. You gave probably your best performance so far. In fact, your best performance, because.
Yeah. Shall we? I'll move on to my next thing,
Sure,
and
and
then
then
we'll
after.
go to the. We're going to do like a top five everything. We might. You want to talk about Mando after my one, just because the
Uh,
season's over, like a
sure,
quick
man. Yeah, we'll briefly go over Mandalorian, then do the top five, and then that'll be our show.
after the disaster that was the prom. I I have went through the animated shows anthology. What would you call it? Love, Sex, and Robots. I watched a
Oh,
couple of
what?
them.
Oh my God! You started watching that one? That came out like either last year or like the year previously. I watched it when it came out. I thought it was really tremendous, except for maybe one or two animated shorts. But besides that, I thought it was tremendous.
The ones that I watched, because I actually have a list of them now, because now we have to do this as technically a side gig.
Mm.
I watched Aquila Rift, Three Robots, Helping Hand, Alternative History, which was quite a funny one, and Lucky 13, where if you don't know what Love, Sex, and Robots is, it is just say 20 odd. I'm trying to remember how many.
Yeah,
It's a big handful of them,
handful of short stories told by different people,
Mhm.
and it's very fun. And
Yeah. I think
I
the biggest thing the advertising had going for it was that I think Tim Miller, the director of the first Deadpool, and David Fincher were producers on it. So you can definitely tell that these two are like working with like a lot of like are picking out really good talented like artists and whatnot to make this like show.
yeah. So just keep talking for a second. I'm looking
Oh,
up
oh
the
no worries,
ones.
because
I'm
oh
looking
no
up
worries.
the descriptions of the episodes I have. The
Aye,
Three Robots one I loved the best because the Three Robots one is just three different robots doing a tour of a desolate America, you assume, where they're just acting like a bunch of tourists and they're going around and looking at things and guessing what they are. There's a point where the cats are messing with them, and there's maybe like 30 cats, and they decide whether or not if they stopped clapping this cat and it stopped purring, would it explode and all that kind of stuff. And then the cat eventually talks, which is a big spoiler for a show that was out 2 years ago.
Yeah. It gets weird. That's a bit of a warning I think we should give it for the show. Sometimes episodes just get weird. Or they already kind of start off kind of weird. Like it's the sort of show where like creativity is just it's just like bursting from the seams. Like sometimes it pays off, and you'll get some generally stunning like results. Like I'm trying to remember like a short that I watched. There was one I don't remember the name of it, but there was one where it involved a guy and this like woman that transforms into a fox or a wolf, and the animation done for it was just beautifully done.
I've not
And
got round to it yet, but I've got IMDb up. I believe it's called Good Hunting.
I think that's what it was. Good Hunting, very beautiful episode. And I think there's one that was kind of a personal favorite of mine, not because it was beautiful, but because I thought it was kind of cute. It was one that involved a guy that runs a dumpster and he's talking to like this investment fellow or something, and it's just him recalling how there was a creature in his like dumpster just going around. I kind of thought it was cute in a very weird kind of way.
There is some cute ones. Like I watched a handful more because they're between 20 minutes and 30 minutes a piece, so you can get through them quite easily.
Oh
But
yeah, like
there's
I
some that are so weird that they are quite a little bit scary, a little bit gory. Like there's Beyond the Aquila Rift, where someone with this ship's crew decides to go light years into somewhere, and then when the guy wakes up, there's been an issue that's happened, but you're not sure
oh
what
my
the
god,
issue is.
yeah.
And then I won't spoil the end of that one because that one's quite a good twist. But
It really
it's just
is.
there's so many things. There's also, talking about ones that are bad, there's Helping Hand. Helping Hand is the one where it's basically Gravity with, what's her name? Julia Roberts? No, the other one.
Sandra Bullock.
Sandra Bullock. I was close.
Yeah,
Where
close.
it's basically her, and she's working on a spaceship, and she gets vaguely stranded in orbit because gravity happens, and she kind of floats away, and she has to give up a limb
Mhm.
without, well, I've already said the title, so you kind of know what it is, but she has to give up a limb to get back, and just the moment where she lets her arm freeze and then has to rip it off is
Yeah.
very, very good.
Mhm.
Well, it's bad, but it's very well done.
Yeah, that one I thought was okay. There's like the one problem I did have with the show is that like, or I did have it when I watched it at the time, was that there are some shorts that don't really add up to much, and some that are just like generally quite. Oh my god, this is brilliant! Like the one that we mentioned involving the space crew going like years into the future, or that was very very good in terms of like what the twist was and that sort of stuff. That was kind of that one where it kind of was like, oh my god, that was so good. And then you have some that are kind of forgettable. Where you're kind of just like, could have been done better. Like there's one where you have farmers. Sorry, 1 second. 1 second. You can probably edit this out, right? Apologies, I'm recording a podcast.
Sorry, I didn't realise.
Yeah, sorry, man. What's up?
I just came up to see it, but I'll see if it's busy.
Yeah, I'm really sorry about that. Man.
No, no, see you later.
See you later. Sorry, you can edit that. That was my brother. You can edit that out, right?
No, I'm keeping it in.
No! God damn it! But yeah. Anyway, where was I? So yeah, there was an episode where what was the fucking episode? Oh shit, I forgot. Yeah, no, the episode that I was thinking of involved farmers who were, I think, protecting their crops from these like weird little alien creatures.
It's Suits is the name. I've got all the episodes up. So if you give me
Yeah,
a little brief
Suits.
description, I'll find the titles.
Yeah, Suits was one that I liked, but I didn't really think it had a lot. But the characters I didn't particularly care about because it kind of just starts and you're like, "Whoa, okay, cool." And I don't know,
Suits seems a bit more video gamey than anything
yeah,
else. Like you
that
could
was
see
kind.
that becoming a kids show vaguely, minus the
Yeah, that was.
fact that certain things happen to the farmers, but
Yeah, that was
also
like that wasn't my problem with it. It felt more good for a video game concept rather than like a full on short film where you have to care about the characters. And when they did get to certain emotional parts, I'm kind of just like, I don't know. We literally just began with these guys like, oh shit, my crops, and then jumping into a shirt, and then jumping into a suit and getting rid of the. Oh man, what a different plot that'd be if we just had shirts to deal with.
there is certain ones that, like that one, doesn't really give you enough time to really get into the characters, but there's also ones that are like manage to give you every description of the character really well, and you get to know what it is quite quickly, and then you're just amazed by it. Like the one,
Yeah,
one of the ones I watched was The Secret War, which is about the Russian army fighting against
yeah.
it's a bunch of like vampires or wolves or something.
Yeah, it was like some weird alien creature. I remember. I kind of like that one just because, not because I cared about the characters. It had the same. It kind of has the same problem that Suits had, but I liked it because the animation was like very stunning, and some of the set pieces, particularly like near the end, were just kind of incredible to watch. But besides from that, I kind of liked it because of the fact, again, there was a tremendous sort of like set piece kind of thing and a great concept for like a bigger movie or something.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. There's certain ones that can be turned, like the alternative history ones is, it's basically it's a thing. I think it's like an app or a program is how they advertise it, where you can just look up different histories depending on what would happen, and you sort of have a multiverse. Like the ones that they showed you was different ways that the Hitler could have died before he killed himself in the bunker.
Mhm.
And that one, like, there's one where he was looking at a bird and then a meteor hits him in the head. There's another one where he's yelling at a small Jewish boy and the trips over his own feet and then gets run over by a car. There's a whole bunch of other ones that could maybe turn into a web series, if anything.
Yeah, maybe like a historical web series. They go through like different historical events and tell them in such a really sort of comical way. So yeah, I think it'd be kind of like genius for that little particular studio.
The one that I'd love to see turned into, well, either a TV series or a film is The Witness. Do you remember which one The Witness is?
Okay, yeah, I think I vaguely remember it. I was just trying. Okay, so it's like you've got like someone witnessing a guy murder someone, and there's a big twist involved. I think you know what I'm probably thinking of. There's kind of a twist involved, where involving the witness, and they go on this like big adventure for this like cyberpunk Blade Runner universe, trying
Yeah.
to get the witness. Yeah, that was incredible.
Without giving that one away, I would watch a movie based around that concept.
Like me too. Like just be like I think if like for further development, it'd be like really really good. What makes the show beautiful is that you don't really like know what the characters are, but it makes it all the more intriguing when you watch it. But I think definitely a movie based around that concept would be very very cool. And just the fact that like it gives like these like the individual episodes, it gives the animators or the studios, I think it's individual studios last time I checked, working on those shorts. It gives them more eyes on products and whatnot. And I just kind of hope like nothing but the best of them in the future. And I hope they actually genuinely start making these in the future like stuff. Plus, they have Netflix backing them,
It's
so they could easily
basically
just go to
it's
Netflix.
basically Netflix. It's Netflix's kind of version of YouTube for animators. Because I believe they're doing a second season, but obviously the world is on fire, so there's a chance that won't be for a while.
That
But
and animation takes a long time to like do, and I think if you're going to make a collection of short films, you're going to have to wait a little bit until you're able to get all of the shorts together because again, animation is very hard to do, and two, they're going to be working from home, like you say. So yeah, it's probably going to be a bit of a long wait until we get to see season two, which I'm hopeful for because I thought the first season was really really good, despite a couple of shorts not working. But
or maybe
besides
it's
that.
maybe Netflix is looking at it and going, it's just we got all the good ones in the first one. There's no one else. If you're
We're
listening
doing
to this, pitch to Netflix. Maybe you've got a good idea for a short animation. The one that, speaking vaguely on short animation, and then we'll get onto the Mando, is I watched a YouTube one recently
Mhm.
where he's called, I think it's the Box Assassin,
The
where
box assassin.
a guy just made it by himself, where he is an assassin that is short enough to be in a box. Like the way that he assassinates certain people is that he'll have a box delivered to you, and then he'll pop out the box and then shoot you, and then disappear back into the box, and
That
that's how
sounds
he
amazing.
assassinates you. I'll
It's
send you the
like.
link after we've done this. But the one that
All right.
the one
Oh,
that he,
you're right.
oh, our internet's crashing a little bit there.
Your internet connection's unstable over there. Yeah, yeah. You just went link and then you like your internet crashed. Can you still hear me? No.
Vaguely, but you're going
We still lost
very
Martin
computer.
Walker. We lost the fucking Walker.
Yeah, I've completely lost you.
Oh no! God damn.
Sean, if you can hear me, I'm stopping recording.
Welcome back from the edit, where apparently Zoom wanted me to actually edit this one a little bit because we've had
Yeah.
issues with recording stoppings and we've had issues with the actual internet connection for some reason.
Yeah, like I was singing the other end part and then became a thoroughly drunk robot, and so did I. And I'm like, what the fuck? What's going on here? So yeah,
Well,
thanks Zoom.
yeah, love, love, sex and robots. Good to watch. Good to watch if you. It's not even watch all of it. It's like the last thing we talked about. It's 20 minutes piece. Or in fact, I've mentioned it before. It's 20 minutes piece. So watch one, and then go on to something else. It's an interesting show that portrays a lot of different animators and stories in a good way.
Yeah,
And that
it's
is
a
the
very
most
very.
professional I've ever sounded on this show.
And you also sound like really into it. It could just be like the stress and anger from Zoom, but generally, yeah, it's still like you're very into it. Watch it. It's very very good. Or I'll throw Zoom out of a window. Watch it, or I'll hold Zoom hostage.
Right, shall we move on to Mando?
Yeah, quickly, Mando. Which
Quickly, The Mandalorian. I obviously, spoilers if you've not seen it, but you should have if you were a true Star Wars fan. But I'm going to take a drink of water, and Sean is going to tell you his thoughts.
Yes, so Mandalorian season 2, I think compared to the first season, slightly weak compared to the first season, because the first season was like its own original like thing of its own original characters, its own little world and all that. Like season 2 was still good. Like there's still like really good stuff that happened in season 2, and even some of the characters that are from the Star Wars universe coming in, I don't mind because I've never watched the other shows or read the books, so this is kind of new to me. So having like Katie Sackhoff's character or Ahsoka from the Clone Wars come in, I'm just sort of like, oh hey, that's cool. I've never seen them before, and they're kind of cool from what I've seen. And even Boba Fett coming back and actually portraying him as a badass was really cool. And I just like the fact that Tamora Morrison brings a nice sort of like gruff charm to Boba Fett. And also the final episode, Luke Skywalker, which I'm kind of mixed on because at one part I'm like, "Oh, cool, it's Luke Skywalker," and the other part I'm like, why do we need Luke Skywalker here?" So but besides that, I thought Mandalorian season 2 was pretty good. I liked it. I thought it was fun. With episode 7 or maybe the one with Boba Fett be my favorite. I don't know. Either way, episode 7 was really good. Probably my favorite one just because of how well done it was, and Bill Burr being, in my opinion, a better actor than he is a comedian. So that's surprising.
Yeah, I feel we're not completely the same. I thought saying that season one was a bit stronger. I thought that they were both good separately
Mhm.
because season one was very good at building the world that, thank God, didn't involve the family, how the Palpatines and the Skywalkers having an argument. I thought did really well to build out what everything was, why we needed to do it. I thought that season 2 was really, really good at integrating it with the world that Disney and Lucas and Filoni, for the most part, has created.
Yeah.
Where I thought it did really well at bringing in characters, obviously for the first time in live action.
Yeah.
Where I have watched, I have technically watched Ahsoka grow up because I watched the animated show. and to see where she was, where she was in the middle of the series, where she was at the end of the series, and then see where she is now. Obviously, Filoni made the show, and then directed that episode, so it really works throughout the whole thing. It was the first idea of fan casting, I believe, where it's been a while that everyone said that they wanted Rosie O'Dawson to do it, and she did great.
Oh, she was awesome.
Yeah, from someone who's watched the person, she did really, really great. Obviously, I would have wanted the voice actor to do it, but it's technically different universes.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm not actually 100% sure how old the voice actor is.
Yeah.
I know it's a
Now you
blonde woman, so there's a chance that she's young, but there's also a chance
yeah.
that she is in her 50s.
Now you mentioned it, I think the episode of Ahsoka might be my favorite purely because of the Western and samurai influences that are in that episode, and just how beautifully directed the whole thing was. So that might be my favorite episode. Now that I'm thinking about it, where it's like, oh yeah, literally, there's like shots reminding me of like Sergio Leone or Akira Kurosawa. I'll take that episode, please. That's my favorite because film nerd reasons.
I also liked, because there's a lot of shows that have filler episodes, and they're filler episodes, and you're like, I'll just skip this one. It's a filler episode. Even the filler episodes were really good. Like the ones
Yeah.
that filled in, like technically, the Bill Burr episode was a filler episode, but it got them to where they wanted to. But I thought that was really good. It gave, and I know that if there is any Star Wars fans listening, they probably won't like it. My thinking on it, it gave me vague Han Solo vibes, like the Solo movie.
Yeah, like that's actually quite a good like shout out actually, just because they have the episodes, despite being filler, are their own little adventures, which is one of the reasons why I think The Mandalorian is really good, because it's like a Western serial from the 1960s where the main characters are still going on this are still going on a quest. It's leading up to a bigger episode and story conclusion, but at the same time, they're going through these little episodes and these little adventures where they're meeting other characters and dealing with other problems that other characters are facing, like the episode where he meets Timothy Oliphant and they have to deal with that giant worm monster, which again I think kind of captures like the essence of what The Mandalorian as a show is: a Western serial where you have your main plot, but at the same time your filler plot, and the filler plot isn't exactly bad or boring. It's a very great plot by itself.
I liked Boba Fett actually being as cool as everyone who's been a Boba Fett fan for years wanted him to be. For years, there's been people that are like, "Oh, Boba Fett's so cool," and if you only watch the films, you're like, "He's in 2, and he's in 1.5, and he dies really stupidly in the half."
Yeah, like I think my dad is a big Boba Fett like guy, and I don't think he has Disney Plus, but I think if he does, I'm pretty sure he'll be like a child again, seeing like what they do with Boba Fett in this show, just because it's the sort of Boba Fett that all the supporters of him wanted to see, the proper Boba Fett, like ass kicking Boba Fett.
It's a Boba Fett that actually does something rather than just asks a question. I think he had maybe like 3 lines in general, and then was spliced into A New Hope.
I mean, who can forget the iconic line, "Put Captain Solo in the cargo hold"? I quote that every day, and people are like, "But Sean, he only appears in it 3 times." And I'm like, "But it's Boba Fett, okay? You leave him alone. He's a legend."
I like, obviously, I like the kind of an thing that's happening right now where they put the quote up from J.J. Abrams where he's like, we can't make the old fans happy and the new fans happy. And then it's like a shot of Favreau and Filoni, and they're going, "Hold my beer." It's that level of stuff.
Yeah, I think the memes were pretty good, and I do understand like some criticisms that people have of the season of Mandalorian season 2, which I can totally understand. I had similar issues of like Rise of Skywalker. I think the only difference is that with Mandalorian, the characters that are being introduced, I don't know much of, so it doesn't really annoy me in particular. Like Boba Fett, I'm aware of, but not to the extent where like I was one of those Boba Fett worshippers. Nor with, especially with Saku, where I'd never watched the other shows. So
Can I say, you've said Ahsoka's name 4 different ways in the last 10 minutes.
I'm sorry.
You got it right the first time, and then you progressively went downhill. You went Ahsoka, Ashoka, Asuki, Ashoka.
It just proves how much of a Star Wars fan I am.
The last one was just phlegm more than anything else. It wasn't even a noise.
Well, yeah. Again, just I watch Star Wars. I'm a fan.
I liked all the good stuff. I want a dark saber, but they're sold out.
Hmm. Well, before we do move on, I just want to say that Giancarlo Esposito, who plays the main villain of the show, wonderful. Just put him in everything. I love him. It's
Have you
great.
not seen what's coming out next year? He is in everything.
Like somehow they'll even edit him in. They'll just be like, "Here, he's in this now. Enjoy."
Literally, I'll look it up. But he's in a video game coming out next year.
Far Cry 5?
I think they're up to 6 now, but I'll double check.
6. Hmm.
But yeah, he's in something else. John Carlos. I get why people kind of hate what Luke looked like, but we're not at the stage where it look. The problem with the way that Luke was is that we've seen Mark Hamill as he is now, and we've seen
Yeah,
him grow up. So we have seen that he does not look like that anymore.
yeah. Oh, on the subject of the Luke Skywalker stuff, I'm like I said, I'm half and half of it. But at the same time, I think the effect of him being there didn't work that well because I think they're working on. I mean, don't get me wrong, the budget for the TV for the show is still incredible, but compared to like say Grand Moff Tarkin and Rogue One, where he kind of looked alright and looked like he was kind of like there interacting with them, or even like some of the shadowy effects that they've done later on, or even compared to like what Marvel did with the DU with the de aging technology, it didn't work out too well just because again it's probably the television budget and it just didn't look that
I
good.
think it's a mix between that and when it comes to it, the no one has been able to get eyes right, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Like the face looked vaguely perfect, like it looked photorealistic, but as
Mhm.
soon as you look at his eyes, you're like, that's not the eyes of a person. That's an eyes of like a program.
Yeah, like it starts off, you see him, you're like, oh look, it's Mark Hamill. You look into his eyes, you're like, you're not Mark Hamill.
I honestly thought they were just going to keep his hood down for the whole thing. I also love what they pointed out. Who was it? Someone pointed out that Mando just took the guy's word that that's what Grogu was saying. Mando
Hmm.
just took Luke's words that, oh, Grogu's asking for your opinion, and yes, I am a Jedi. He just essentially left his child, like gave his child to a stranger who just spent the last 5 minutes cutting up robots with a laser sword.
I think in defense of that, in defense of that, I think Luke Skywalker at this point is like probably elusive in the Star Wars world. Like you probably know who he is. So I think obviously like seeing a character going around slicing up robots like that, they're probably like sitting there going, "Oh yep, he's a Jedi." That's probably okay. Although I don't really know why I'm defending it personally, just because I'm like, yeah, I don't really know why he would trust him. But at the same time, it's like, guys, it's Star Wars. Why are we thinking too hard on this?
Yeah, there's certain hardcore fans online that are like, well, when Bo-Katan got offered the sword in the Rebels TV show, she never had to fight for it, but she's got to fight Mando for it now. It's all
like,
those weird kind of things.
I'm just in the I'm just like I'm kind of in that mindset of enjoying Star Wars. I'm just kind of like, guys, who cares? It's Star Wars. Why are we all questioning the logic of like space wizards and spaceships and shit?
Yeah, it's like with Bo-Katan, you just jump on Amazon. They're like 30 quid. You can get it delivered. It's fine.
Yeah.
There's nothing to worry about. You've got 30 quid to spend. Obviously, I don't know what that is in Star Wars land, but
But overall, before we move on to like our top 5 movies of the year, Mandalorian season 2, not as strong as the first one, but still very good by itself.
yeah, I'm kind of the same. Obviously, I like the fan service was really, really cool for the second one. When it comes to the book of Boba Fett, I'm not. I like him more as a side person. It's like what's it? The fourth Pirates of the Caribbean, fifth Pirates of the Caribbean, the 12th
Yeah.
one.
Oh,
It's
oh
like when they
God.
tried to stop Johnny Depp being the side character that he was.
Yeah, and they tried experimenting, like having him being like there and focusing on other characters, and it didn't work out too well because they ended up promoting him as the main character anyway. And it's like, make up your minds, guys. What are you doing here?
Yeah, I am worried that it might be that where they're going into it and you'll be like, oh, he was only really meant to be a side character. I
Yeah,
don't know
I
why
mean,
he's a main character. I do trust Favreau and Filoni,
mhm.
where they'll probably prove me wrong, but
Yeah, I like who they have. I like Tamura Morrison. I think what he does with the character is very well done. I like Filoni and Favreau, so I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt with this one. And at the same time, they've been wanting to the Lucasfilm, even going back to like spin-off movies. I've always wanted to do a Boba Fett thing for a long time. So I think the fact that like they're actually getting into it now is pretty interesting, and I like probably check it out because again, I want to see what kind of interpretation they'll give that character, especially a character who is both iconic and worship to death, like Boba Fett. So I'll just give it a watch just out of pure curiosity.
yep, I'll be watching it anyway. Right, shall we do this with the top
Yes.
5? We're going to be moving on to the top 5. Shall we do this with the top 5 where you do one, I do one, and we just say the
Yeah.
name and a brief exam and a brief thing?
Yeah, I think that's what we're gonna go for. Like one of us starts off and then we go, here's my number 5, and then here's Martin's number 5, and then here's Sean's number 4, and then so on and so forth. But yeah, before we do that, let me just send her a little plea. Zoom, please don't go crashing the Zoom. We're really good boys. We're just trying to get a podcast done for the day, okay? All right, love you, Zoom. Okay, that's it. Okay,
Fair
that's me
enough.
done.
But I'll let you go first because I brought up Mando talk.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, it's the top 5 movies of the year. Now we're like weeks. Though this is 2 weeks before the end of the year happens. My list could be completely different by the end, but this is more of a placeholder just now. So hey, let's have some fun with it.
And you are saying movies, but I've only got one movie on it because I've only seen one movie this year.
Dude, that's fine. I think we were talking about it. You were messaging me. We were going, hey, I haven't seen a lot this year, so is it going to be okay if I just do this and that? And it's like, dude, sure, dude, go ahead.
Sean's maybe all movies. Mine is a mix of movies and TV shows.
Yeah, because I think the last thing I'm going to do, especially if it's like just a 2-man podcast or one person isn't like fluent in this sort of thing, it's like you don't want to force them to be like, no, watch all the movies and put a list together because that's just going to take like days. All right, so number 5 in my top 5 films of 2020. Oh, I should probably as well list that 2 of these, or 3 of these rather, in America came out in America last year. But I'm going by the UK rules that like Mark Komodo Empire Total Film would do, where like when he came out this year in 2020, so it'll be part of the 2020 list of like films this year. So if any of you are American or got it internationally, I'm sorry, this is how the rules are in the UK, I guess. Anyway, number 5, Jojo Rabbit, the Taika Waititi war satire comedy, which I saw at a preview screening last year, and it came out on New Year's Day this year. Brilliant movie. I absolutely love it. I think I remember like just going crazy for it. I think I saw it in the cinema like 5 times, purely because like there were 2 or 3 instances where people were like, "Oh, Sean, wanna go see Jojo Rabbit?" And I'm like, "Fuck, I'm not complaining. Sure, let's go see Jojo Rabbit." Genuinely one of the best films one of the best films this year, and I just love it. It's just one of those like movies where it has a balancing act of like whether or not this works or not, and it manages to work like gangbusters. It's probably Taika Waititi's best film that he's made. A lot of the acting is very, very good, and the fact that it won Best Screenplay at the Oscars is just icing on the cake. Just icing on the cake.
Yeah, I completely agree. Jojo Rabbit is it was really, really good. I actually, it's the first time in a while I went to go see a film by myself because normally I either go with Lucy or I go with other people. But
Mhm.
right, my number 5 is a TV show where it's Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist.
Oh yeah, I think that got advertised like last year. It's got oh no, I forgot her name.
It's
Oh
got
no, Jane Lynch.
Jane
Not
Levy's
Jane
in it.
Lynch. Jane
No,
Levy. There we
you
go.
got right first name, wrong second name. But it's
Yeah, I
Jane
know.
Levy. She is. She plays Zoe, and it's a weird show, but it's also a very fun show that I enjoyed watching. I enjoyed how they played about with it. If you don't know what it is, Jane Levy plays Zoe, and she one day needs to go in for I think it's an MRI scan, and she lives in San Francisco. She goes to the MRI scan in San Francisco. An earthquake happens at the same time while music is playing, and then she wakes up from, well, doesn't wake up. She comes out of the MRI scan, and she can hear what she describes as people's heart songs. And throughout the rest of the series, she tries to help people through their heart songs, which their heart songs is basically what they're thinking in their head. She can hear as a song, whether it be uh, like Black Sabbath in certain cases, or in other really ridiculous cases, John Legend, or like it varies between songs. What I like is it's not one that's just popular music. It's not, oh my god, that's the most popular song this year, we're going to have them listen to that. It's not that level of stuff. But it
Yeah.
also works really, really well because they have her dad is Peter Gallagher, who is great in most things that he does, where he normally plays a dad, but he has locked in syndrome, which is, for people who don't know what locked in syndrome is, the illness where your body basically shuts you inside, hence
Yeah,
locked in syndrome.
yeah,
And the
it's just
way,
as advertised. Not fun.
the way that's the way that she finds out she can talk to her dad, because her dad's brain's still working.
Yeah.
So at certain moments, there's where she's feeling really, really down about something. She's sitting next to her dad, and her dad just bursts into song, and the song's always one that she needs to hear, and that
Mhm.
it will always make her feel better.
Yeah.
And there's so many sad scenes in it. Obviously, the dad's got with the dad's illness, and with the people dealing with that illness, because she's got a mum, she's got a brother, she's got the brother's wife is obviously dealing with the fact that with her being pregnant and the chance that maybe the dad doesn't get to see the born child. And it's got, what's her name as well, Alex Newell, who you will probably eventually see, Sean, when you're watching Glee.
No, I got past that. He played the unique character in Glee. I loved him in the Glee. I thought he was incredible. I got past like season 3 recently with my little brother.
I'll
Very good.
double I'll double check. I think she goes by she now.
Yeah, I think I asked my brother, and like I think it was either is it she, he, she, probably. Yeah, if we did misgender anyone, we're really sorry. We're very respectful of that sort of thing. But yeah, I got past that season in Glee, and watching Alex Newell's performance of Pinball Wizard by Elton John, I had a moment because I'm a huge admirer of Elton John's music. So just seeing them like do Pinball Wizard and having that character sing it, I'm like, oh my god, yes, 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 more Pinball Wizard, please.
Okay, with the joys of Google, I have found out that Alex is gender fluid, but prefers to be assigned as a gay man.
Hmm.
Obviously, that article may be out of date, so we apologize again.
Yeah,
But he's great in it.
yeah.
He's great
I
as
don't.
kind of the, what is it, like the fun best mate
Yeah,
who knows about this illness or powers or whatever you want to call it, and then goes on
yeah.
with that.
Jane, Levy's has told him about it, and he's sort of like, yeah, cool. And then these two of them sort of like, yeah, I will say, I might check it out. I don't know, like I think E4 advertised it, and it just didn't look great to me. But then again,
It's,
knowing how,
from watching it and watching the advert, it's better than what is advertised.
yeah, I think that's kind of a problem that E4, in fact, all television stuff have a problem with, where like they'll advertise a show from America, and they're just like, shit, how do we advertise this? Here's what this is. And it's like, I don't know.
Also, before we move on to Sean's number 4, Jane Levy is a tiny human. If you ever watch the show, she's like 5'2" or something. She is just, compared to the rest of them, is so
Yeah.
tiny.
Oh, bro, have you seen Don't Breathe? Like everyone's towering over her, and she it's like, to be fair though, I think it kind of helps out because Stephen Lang is a huge man, so I
Yeah,
think
if
that
you're
kind
up
of
against
works out.
Stephen Lang, like, most people are short compared to Stephen Lang.
Do you think the people who made Don't Breathe got Jane Levy in there just because they knew she was like short enough to like deal with this like character, and they're like, she's perfect, she's great, they have this terrifying blind man towering over her. That'd be perfect. Um,
I've
anyway,
just
so
looked up her height, and then we'll move on. She is, I'll double check. She's 5'1.5".
oof.
So she is tiny.
Mm. Very good actor though. We're not walking her on the height. It
Oh,
doesn't
she's
matter
a
how
great actress. It's just it's almost like it's a joke from the show's creators, where everyone else in that show is like 5'10", 5'11", maybe
Yeah,
6'2". She is tiny.
yeah, so we're not mocking her, we're just more of making an observation of her height. Anywho, so number 4 on my list of films of 2020 is Uncut Gems, the only film that I went to see this year twice in the same day. That's how good Uncut Gems was. For a brief little story on it, Netflix, it came out in the Netflix in the UK, and Filmhouse, the Edinburgh Filmhouse, which is the which is one or two of which is one of 3 independent cinemas in the UK, and the only not in the UK, sorry, in Edinburgh, and the only cinema in Edinburgh that shows Netflix movies 2 weeks in advance. So they were showing Uncut Gems in 2 weeks in advance, and I went to see it. And I went initially in a small screen like in the afternoon. Generally one of the best films I've seen that year, and I thought it was amazing. So much so that later on, like I think I got around 5 o'clock. People were going home around that time, and it was a very busy night. So I thought, I'm gonna kill some time. I'm going back in there and seeing it again. So I went to see it on the same day, and I went to see it like the 6 o'clock showing, where they took the screening from one of the smaller screens to their biggest one, and that worked out and that was like a great experience, and I absolutely loved this movie so much so where, kind of like The Irishman, I watched it on repeat so many times. It's that good. I absolutely adore this movie, and Adam Sandler gives probably his greatest ever performance as Howard Ratner, who's this gambling addict and chancer basically, who goes around getting himself in all these like really weird situations and has to pay back this gangster, and then he ends up getting an opal that will probably solve his issues. It's a movie where just problems mount up and they just keep getting worse, and it's one of those like films where you will have a panic attack watching this. Not out of like say fear from a horror film, just a panic attack from how things are going and how stressful it is, and you're just sitting there going, "Oh my god, I can't take this anymore. Why is it so stressful to watch?" And it's very good. I love it. I remember like when me and Martin were in the same course, I went in there, I kind of came in going, guys, Uncut Gems. It's the best thing ever to happen since like sliced bread.
And was that not when I went? Well, it's no Ridiculous 6. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. That's what it was.
My recommendation is watch Ridiculous 6. That's a much better film.
Yeah, Adam Sandler. And the Ridiculous Six was robbed of the Oscars, that's for sure. It's no Hateful Eight, but hey, the Ridiculous Six. No Hateful Eight, but hey, masterpiece by itself. Oof. But yeah, it's experiences like that kind of make me miss the cinema experience because of this goddamn real life situation. But at the same time, I'm kind of glad that we have Uncut Gems on Netflix because I can just repeat it over and over again to my heart's content. And it's one of those experiences I'm probably never going to forget. And I'm so glad that's in my list because it's one of those movies that just sticks with you, not in a sort of like, oh no, it's going to haunt me for the rest of my days. In a way where you're like, oh yeah, this was great, that scene was great, this actor was great, this thing that happened was great. Everything about it just works. It's kind of perfect in my eyes. It's one of those like films where just everything about it is so tight and so well done that just it's just really good. Basically, I don't mean to like rush it. It's just I don't want Zoom freaking out and being like, this is going on for too long, you know.
Yeah, no one wants the Zoom to break again. I've already dealt with a bad Zoom edit 2 weeks ago, and I'd rather not do that again. Right, on to
Yeah.
my number 4. My number 4 is actually your number 5. My number 4 is Jojo Rabbit.
Hey.
I love the film. I'm very upset that I've only just started to come into contact with what Taika Waititi does. I think that he puts his own brand of humor on everything. He was definitely the right person to do this, and the right person to play Hitler, because I think if anyone else did it, he probably would have taken it a bit more seriously.
Yeah. Like I think the
Obviously,
fact that he
the Sam Rockwell is amazing as ever. His character with Alfie Allen, them two are great together. It's one of those films where you don't know, without spoiling it too much, there's points where you're like, oh, I don't know whether to laugh or cry at this moment.
Oh yeah, it hits a tonal shift that in any other like filmmaker that wasn't Taika Waititi handled it, it would have been disastrous or kind of like just out of left field. But because Taika Waititi, who's made Phil, I think his previous film Hunt for the Wilder People is kind of a perfect example that kind of goes alongside it. Hunt for the Wilder People has a sort of change in tone where something bad happens. I'm kind of refraining from spoilers in case you and anyone else hasn't seen it, because I recommend Hunt for the Older People. It's really good. There's something that happens in the middle of the film where it's really sad, and then it kind of moves on and becomes part of the film's plot and the development for the two characters in there. And I think if you didn't have Taika Waititi making Jojo Rabbit and you have that tone of shift, it would have been disastrous, and no one would have known how to react. But because it's Taika Waititi, who has already established himself so far as being one of the best comedy drama filmmakers, it's a work of genius. And I remember just like watching that scene that you're probably thinking of, and just that was it. I was done. I was a mess.
Yeah.
Just
It was a great film. You've said pretty much the same thing I was going to say about it. Just throughout the whole thing, it's great. If you've not seen it, without spoiling it, we recommend seeing it. I would recommend seeing it in the theater, but obviously you can't do that at the moment. Or maybe you can, and you're wanting to show off to us. But either way.
Yeah, I went. Yeah, I went. Like I say, I went to a preview screening of it like on New Year's Eve. Yeah, New Year's Eve at the Cameo. That was a fun night, and I remember that was a really fun night. And me and my brother managed to get like the second to last bus on the way home because, yeah, New Year's Eve travel is kind of a bitch to sort of deal with. But yeah, Jojo Rabbit was great. Okay, time for my number 3. We're now in the top 3 in the bronze, silver, and gold positions. The best positions to be in if you're in a top 10 list, or top 5 rather. Number 3 is the British horror film Saint Maud from new director Rose Glass. And it's a horror film where, if I told any other detail except for the fact that it's about a nurse who is dealing with a new client and starts developing kind of a god complex, that's it. I do not want to tell you anything else because this movie is so good, but also genuinely sad and kind of disturbing because it's a horror film where not a whole lot of like jump scares happen, but what makes it more scary is how it's the thought of the film that's kind of scary. It's a movie that's a very sad look at someone's loneliness and isolation. Basically, the perfect film for 2020. You get what I mean, lads? But yeah, it's fucking incredible. Moyford Clark, if I pronounced the name wrong, I'm very sorry, ma'am. Her performance as the titular Saint Maud character, incredible. One of the best performances in this year. Jennifer Ely is also in it. She's really good and has a directorial debut from Rose Glass. It's so strong, so terrifying. And there was, I think the last film that I saw in a cinema before we had to go back in Lockdown 2.0. And yeah, I think it was kind of the appropriate like last film to see. And it was very, very good and probably has, I think compared to the other films on the list, yeah, I think compared to my number 1 and more than my number 2, I don't know, it has maybe the strongest ending of 2020. The ending will never leave this brain. That's how like disturbing the ending of the film is. It's just, you walk around, you can make up your own theories as to what it is, but my goodness, Saint Maud, absolutely incredible. And I'm probably not gonna stop talking. Yeah, it's just really, really good. Sorry. Oh, that coffee's ruining my brain.
Sean has had a lot of coffee today, if you can't tell. Right, on to my number 3, because I don't want to edit this for the rest of Tuesday. My number 3 is back to a TV season, and it is technically this year. It's Cobra Kai seasons 1 and 2. It is, if you don't know The Karate Kid, where were you? Why do you not know The Karate Kid? It's the best. No, The Karate Kid was a bunch of mediocre 80s movies. And this is kind of a follow-up to it, where you are following the quote-unquote bad guy of the first movie, Johnny Lawrence, who is played excellently by William Zabka. And it is him where his life is kind of went downhill after, spoilers for a movie that's been out since the 80s, after he loses to the good guy in the thing, who is played by LaRusso. He's not played by, he's played by Ralph Macchio. But it's just, you don't even have to be a fan of The Karate Kid. You don't even have to know about The Karate Kid, to be honest. The first episode gives you a good enough recap of the first Karate Kid movies where you just watch it and it's great. It's manages to get you hype when the acting's not amazing. I'll be honest. Obviously I'm not an actor, so I can't really comment on it too much.
Yeah.
but the acting isn't. It's not like Downey Jr. level acting, but it's damn good as it is.
Mhm.
It is was started as a YouTube original, so in the first and second season, you could kind of see that it was only going off YouTube money, not Netflix money. It is
Mhm.
great. It's great to watch. It's so fun to watch. They have so many callbacks to a movie that you didn't know that you were happy to hear a callback from. It is the Cobra Kai starting up. What I like about it is that it answers some questions that you obviously know that fans of the original movies had.
Mhm.
Like where there's a certain kick that happens in the first one where most of the fans were like, well, that's technically an illegal kick. And they bring up what actually happened where obviously in the first Karate Kid movie they were fighting over, it was Elizabeth Shue, but I can't remember what her name was in the actual
Mhm.
thing. They talk about the fact that even after they did all that, they maybe broke up. After all that stuff, Ralph Macchio's character actually broke up with her maybe like 3 months later.
So it's
And
like it's almost. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. So it's almost like a deconstruction of the Karate Kid like franchise, and not only the franchise, but the first film almost.
it's basically, yeah, it's that kind of stuff where it's a follow up as well as it's explaining it better than they really cared to in the 80s. In the 80s, they just made a film and put it out. They didn't really want it to have this much tail and this much lore and put that
Yeah.
much effort into it and maybe put that much effort into this bit. They just went, it's a guy that learns karate from a kid. It's a kid that learns karate from a guy and go. And then that's what they do. This one
Yeah,
actually
I
puts
think.
effort into it. It's really good
uh
because you see William Zabka rise back up through the ranks. He's technically the Mr. Miyagi character in
mhm.
this, where he's teaching a bunch of nerdy kids how to do karate. And then you see the kid actors or teenage actors, whatever you want to call them, the younger actors than William Zabka and Ralph Macchio
Mhm.
are actually really good because there's one that's called Eli, but he ends up, without spoiling it too much, he ends up becoming a person called Hawk by the end of the first season because he has that dramatic a change of being this nerd to being the bully, and it's really quite fun to watch.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, I was putting it off for a while just because I've never watched the first Karate Kid and I don't really care much to watch it just because it's one of those like 80s films that, like you say, it was just made because, hey, kid learns karate from this guy and he has to be the bully. That's our movie. Go make it. Go make it. It'll make us $1 million. And it doesn't look. It wasn't the sort of thing that appealed to me. So if I was able to watch the show, would I have to watch this first one? It was the first one. You don't have to watch it in order to get the
No,
context.
literally, if you know I think pretty much everyone has seen the ending of, even if it's not in context of the full film, you've seen the that Lawrence and LaRusso go against each other, and you
Yeah,
know
it's
that he
one of
comes
those.
out. Literally, the first episode starts off with that. Like it's not even like a fake. It's a
Mhm.
recreation of two actors. It's literally they just cut the front of the movie in. No, they cut the back of the movie into the first episode to give anyone who's not watched it a sort of thing of what happens.
That's good. I might check out the show now because I find the deconstruction element of it kind of fascinating because you don't really get a lot of franchise stuff where they'll look at it and go, yeah, this is a bit boring. Let's spice it up and make it kind of interesting and see what actually happens after all that occurs.
The
Because
best part of the deconstruction is obviously they fight over a girl, and in Karate Kid the movie, they actually have like William Zabka's character is with Elizabeth Shue's character at the beginning, and
hmm,
the way that they talk about it in Cobra Kai is that he's like, I was dating this girl. We'd been together for 6 to 10 months. I can't remember the exact date, but we were doing all this stuff. We had one argument, and then this Larusso kid appeared and started threatening to beat me up because I was doing this. But all I was trying to do was fix what was happening. And
hmm,
he even admits it. He was like, obviously I was 16 at the time, so I wasn't 100% sure how to fix a relationship, but I was trying
hmm.
to fix a relationship, but this guy just wouldn't leave me alone. And then he got all up and then he got all up in my face. So I had to do something because it was the 80s, and you kind of
Mhm.
have to like assault someone to get them to
Yeah,
leave you alone.
I do like her from the perspective of like Zapka's character. It's like this little guy will leave me alone. It's just like it's like it kind of paints like that. It kind of paints Ralph Macchio's character in a different light, where like he was just being kind of an asshole, and the other guy's just sort of like, dude, I've got bigger problems to worry about. Leave me alone. Just go away.
The way that I would sell it would be, imagine if. Well, no, they've already done that. I was going to say, imagine if there was a thing on Darth Vader where you found out, but they've already done that. That was the prequels. It's, imagine basically if, like, the bad
Yeah.
guy from any Disney film, you actually got to see the movie again, but from their point of view, where it's just this knight has appeared and has started attacking you for no reason.
Yeah, I'll definitely give. I'll probably add to the list. I don't know when I'll watch it because I've got other shows that I'm kind of in the midst. I'm in the midst of right now. But
If
I'll
you want to
definitely
wait
give it a
until,
chance.
and this is kind of a sponsor for them, if you want until, I think, the 18th of January, the third season that Netflix has funded is coming back.
All right, I'll probably wait till like the first season's on there, and then I can just sort of bench it in a winner, I guess. All right, so moving on to number 2, my second favorite film of the year, the silver medalist in this category. Pardon me, no, not the burp. Pardon me, that's not the title of the movie. My second favorite film of the year is *Da 5 Bloods* by Spike Lee. Jeez, what a movie! I loved this. It was kind of similar to like Uncut Gems and Same Odd. It was on my mind a lot after I saw it. Like it's the sort of thing where like when you like when a week later when you see it, you're kind of just like, oh yeah, that was great, and all this. Oh my god, rah, rah, rah. It's probably one of Spike Lee's best films. Probably in my top 5 Spike Lee movies. It's just one of it. It's like one of those movies where like the guy kind of tops himself as a filmmaker because he's dealing with a lot of like stuff that he's dealing with a lot of like different stuff and also like a lot of different themes into this film. And I just thought it was just tremendous. Like probably one of his best films, like I says. And Delroy Lindo, who plays the role of Paul, that guy, definitely an Oscar win for him. Maybe a nomination for him in the Best Actor category because his performance as Paul was remarkable. And just there's a monologue that he has near the end where he's one of the Delroy Lindo was like one of those character actors who's appeared in like bit parts throughout his career, and this is like the performance where everyone's like, shit, that guy can actually act, and he's really, really good. There's also some really good solid support from like the likes of Jonathan Majors, Clark Peters, Isaiah Whitlock Jr., even Jean Reno who pops up, which is kind of surprising, and also the late great Chadwick Boseman appears as Stormin Norman, who kicks off the film's plot by being their squad leader, where they find gold that they have to go back in Vietnam to find, and it's oddly one of those movies where, despite the ugliness of all of it, I describe it as being kind of beautiful because it's basically a film about 4 guys trying to reconnecting with one another, dealing with like the nightmare that was like the Vietnam War and their experiences from it, and how the 4 of them individually have dealt with it, and particularly the Paul character who became just the worst human after it. And it's a very fascinating like movie in that regard because I'm fascinated by like the 70s history and the history of Vietnam. So watching a movie that like portrays it in such an honest and kind of frank, yeah, this is what happens to people that went to that war way. It's very well done. I love it. I just think it's a very genuinely excellent film.
Yeah. I also saw that one. But
Yeah.
my number 2 is The Prom with James Corden. It was
What a
it was a bluff.
turnaround!
It was a bluff. In the last
Oh,
hour, and I've decided I love it.
oh, what a turnaround!
No, mine is also actually the 5 Bloods.
Well, that's that's surprising.
We literally were messaging each other as it was happening. Was it not? Because it came out and we actually were like, "Are you watching it?" Yeah, I'm watching it.
Yeah. I think what happened was that like I think it was beforehand. I was like, I'm gonna get some snacks together, go see it. Then I turned off my Wi-Fi actually because I think what I did was I went for a cinema experience where I turned off my lights and just watched it with the volume up. And I think it was afterwards I was like, dude, that was amazing. And we just sort of started talking about it back and forth.
Yeah, we've already talked about it tons, but I agree with everything you said. It's a really, really great movie. The characters are well thought out and are shown quite easily. Obviously, there's certain moments where you're a bit, but like, I kind of hoped that Chadwick Boseman's character was a bigger part of it, but
Yeah.
that's just more of me being a fan of Chadwick rather than
Mhm.
me being disappointed that the movie didn't involve him. I liked all aspects of it. I like the fact that there was a tone shift nearer the end of the movie.
Yeah, oh my goodness. Like, and even the aspect ratio changes, like you could definitely tell from the aspect ratios where you were, because in the flashbacks it'd be like done to a sort of like smaller screen. Then like when before we get to the adventure, it's like about this length, and then when you get to like them in Vietnam looking for the treasure, it's oh no, them looking in the treasure in the Vietnam jungles, it's like full screen, epic Cinemax kind of thing, and it's like, damn, I
I
love
also
it.
like what Spike Lee does, where he doesn't cast younger actors to be the guys. I thought that was
Mhm.
quite good, rather than trying to figure out, because vague spoilers, they flash back at points.
Yeah.
But I was liking how it was. Oh well, that's obviously it's the same guy, so I don't need to
Yeah,
be
yeah,
like,
I
so who's he? I have to
yeah.
listen to this audio. I have to listen to this audio really carefully to figure out who everyone is in this whole thing. But I
Yeah,
like
just
the
a quick.
fact that they did that.
Yeah, I thought that was I thought that was kind of a bit of a genius like move, just because like I think I read in an interview that Lee said he considered the what they did with the Irishman and de-aging him, but he thought that would take him out of it, and considered kind of going just the fact that like it's just them as them in the flashback, because that's kind of how memories kind of like that works sometimes, because you think of yourself in that situation, just going through the emotion and whatnot, and has a memory and all that. And I think, and that was kind of like my theory of watching it the first time, going, oh, so it's like how they remember it. So it's like them right now thinking back to that moment as them older. So I thought that was kind of a genius like move. It's simple, but really effective like stuff.
I also love, well, not fully the Vietnam era, because it wasn't like a war that really needed to happen technically. But I
Mhm.
love the country of Vietnam. I love the
Oh my
food.
god, yeah.
Like, see if the world wasn't on fire, I'd be saving up, and me and Sean would be doing a show from Vietnam.
Like we'd have like a tour and everything. I would love to go. I generally, unironically, would love to go to Vietnam at some point, despite the heat, just because I think even whenever I first watched the Five Bloods, I even like said to myself, this is going to be one of the best depictions of that country, because most films about the Vietnam War are like, yeah, this is it in the 1970s. We're never going to see it again afterwards. So I think, given the context that like it's now a modern city that's kind of like doing okay, it's a nice little like way to capture Vietnam, because you don't really get a lot of films that capture modern Vietnam doing okay. It just tends to sort of like think of it as being the bad country and whatnot.
Do you want to know? This is kind of sad. Where my interest in Vietnam picked up.
Yeah.
Top Gear did a special where they drove around Vietnam. They did it on like mopeds or something. They did it along those lines, but obviously minus the sketch bits that they put in, where
Mhm,
they're like fanning around with each other. They look like an amazing country, because they had
mhm.
certain people that were just doing location shots, and it
Yeah.
looked like a great country to be in. Obviously, there might be certain worries in it at the moment
Mhm,
after all that stuff, but it looked
yeah.
great. The actually, I think they finished the Top Gear special on a in a pub that's actually a barge. So like it's just this bar that's just sort of floating in the middle of this lake.
That's
And
incredible.
all of it looked amazing. But
So
shall we
yeah, I
move on
think
to
that
number one?
sure. Do you want to do mine first?
No, I won't do yours first. I'll let you do yours first.
Ah, all right. So my favorite film of the year again came out last year, but we're going by the UK rules here. My favorite, plus, come on, the world's on fire. You can't blame me for thinking of number one, whatever. Anyway, my favorite film of the year, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, the latest film from Celine Sciamma, the director of such films as Girlhood and Tomboy, which I've not seen yet, but hey, I've got the BFI player reviews. I could probably check them out. Anyway, so I love this movie. This movie, oh my goodness, I love it so much. Like I remember seeing it at the film house, and oh god, I remember seeing it at the film house when it came out, and I remember just being completely affected by it in such this in a very emotional like way. I couldn't contain myself watching it. Basically, it was just one of those very beautiful movies that is about two people who just adore each other and they don't want to leave each other's like sights, and then just it's a movie that's devastatingly beautiful in a sense. I don't want to go into too much details because it's one of those like movies where I feel it's best experienced without seeing a trailer for it. All you need to know is that it's about a painter who gets hired to paint someone for a portrait because she's getting married to someone who she doesn't love, and it's like this big thing. It's set in 18th century France, and it's fucking beautiful to look at. It's beautiful to listen to. It's just beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful film. I love it. I cried like a big baby boy, and I think it was also another one of those movies like Uncut Gems where we went into like I went to my college course going, everybody, you gotta watch Poetry Lady on Fire. It's so good. And most people kind of shrugged like, it's a French film. I don't care. It's a French movie. Why would I care about a French movie? And it's like, because it's so good. It's a good movie. I love it. And
I've probably
also,
made some sort of joke about it, but I can't remember it this time.
yeah, like thinking back on it, I'm thinking of compared to like the other films that I've seen this year, and compared to like the nightmare that has been 2020. It's the one film that I kind of stop and think back on in reflection. Like Parasite could have been number one. I love Parasite, but I thought the other films on the list were kind of better, and I thought Portrait of a Lady on Fire was a lot more effective in what it was trying to go for, and I just love it overall. It's just such a brilliant little movie, and I can't help but recommend it. And Martin is going dark right now. It's getting dark real fast over here.
Tell you how many. This is a slight like time delay thing for us here. Tell you how long it has been since we've been recording and having an issue with Zoom. Me and Sean both started this while it was bright. It is now so dark that all I can see is the reflection of my glasses, and all I can see is Sean's nose if he leans
Just
back in his chair. All I
just
can see
peering
is
into the dark. I'm just
yeah.
peering into the darkness. It's actually quite fun. Like I kind of feel I could do like the Apocalypse Now monologue with Marlon Brando, where he kind of starts off in the shadows and then just comes out like, "Hello, it's me, Marlon Brando. I know the Apocalypse Now. It's gonna be real scary." It's actually quite frightening just looking at it because I feel like I could pull off some terrifying faces. But yeah, anywho, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, my favorite film of 2020. I don't know what else to think. I don't know what else to say about it except it's a beautiful, beautiful film, and I doubt it. I highly, highly doubt it. But if anyone who's worked in that film or just likes that film is hearing this, or even like the directors, Lin Siyama and the two stars, are listening to this, thank you. You made probably the best film that I've seen this year, and I hope nothing. I wish nothing but the best success in the future, and just thank you. It's a gift. The film is a gift.
And then you go back into the darkness. I know we shouldn't
just
really
like,
in this
just like
audio in this audio thing, we shouldn't really be pointing out visual elements that are happening.
like someone could animate it though. That'd be like the fun part. Someone could like listen to this and be like, "Oh, I can animate this." So we could start off like, "Yes, I love Portrait of a Lady on Fire," and then Sean retreats back into the darkness, going to see other movies
Something
and
that
disappear.
tells you how well I've been looking after my teeth recently is that all I can see now is my teeth.
Oh my God, they're bright! Wow,
Tells
dude,
you
what's
how
your?
tell you how well I've been looking after my teeth. It's literally
Oh wow,
my teeth
hold
shining
on. Yeah, I'm gonna try it out. I'm gonna try this out. Okay, I've got my teeth showing. Can you see my teeth?
a little bit.
Uh,
Right.
oh God, that
Anyway,
looks horrifying. I need
enough
to
of
stop that. I'm scaring myself looking at that.
enough of us getting distracted because I
Mhm.
want to edit this in one day.
Yeah, and so Zoom doesn't have a panic attack and goes, "No, stop recording after these hours."
My number one, and it's going to be the surprise of the century, and no one will have seen it coming, is the prom.
You done that joke already. Come on, don't do that. I'm guilty of repeating jokes, but don't you start repeating jokes,
No, no,
you.
it's no surprise when I say this. It is the television series Ted Lasso.
Ah, okay, that's that. I'm
Um,
gonna be honest with you, Martin. I'm actually surprised. I mean, look at me right now. I'm really surprised.
stop doing visual jokes in this audio podcast.
Well, fine. Listen to how surprised I am. Oh, gee, Willigers, I didn't see you picking Ted Lasso.
Oh, it's great. It's the first thing in a while I've watched again several times. It
Mhm.
is obviously you can listen back to our episode. I think it was 2 weeks ago, or a week ago. However, you were listening to the show, the second last show before one. I think it was episode 3. I said all I needed to say there, but I'll just reiterate it. It's what everyone needed in this year.
Yeah.
It's a show with not really any high stakes. There's not any sort of political madness in it. Not that political shows are mad,
Mhm.
but there's nothing really too serious about it. They
Mhm.
always sort of deal with their issue, whether it be in 2 episodes or just the one episode. Just it's great. Characters are great in it. Jason Sudeikis as Ted Lasso. The fact that they made this great a show off a joke advert from like 2 years ago is amazing.
Yeah, like it might not be my like I think in terms of like TV shows, because if I did a list of TV shows, I think it'd be quite okay. But I think compared to all the other TV shows that I've seen this year and I was able to watch and complete before the year was over, this might be my favorite TV show of the year as well. So it just because of how surprising the show is. Because I don't remember it being advertised a lot. It wasn't until I think I got the Apple app just out of complete boredom and you recommending the show, where it's a beautiful show. It's just that's how great it is. I don't normally apply a term like beautiful to a show about football with Jason Sudeikis, and it's just this beautiful show about people being people, and it's you've got Sudeikis playing this character who's just so unironically lovable, and just all the other characters have their own flaws, and they're all kind of lovable. Even the team owner, what's her name? The character names better than I do.
Rebecca.
Rebecca, even
It's just
Rebecca.
it's a great show. The
Yeah,
optimism off the whole show is just it's what you needed in a year where everything seems anything that will go wrong has gone wrong, basically.
uh-huh. And what makes it beautiful as well is that you have like problems where any other show would just dramatize the hell out of them. Like we're going in a sport. Then again, I'm going to go into a little bit of a spoiler here, but I won't spoil anything else. Ted Lasso is going through a divorce at the moment in the show, and the way they handle it as well, it's not even like the two characters are yelling or having a standoff with each other and yelling at each other and dramatized and whatnot. It kind of has a sort of quality like the end of Marriage Story, where it's just the two of them like sad that it's over and just trying to deal with it in their own way, and it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
To add on to that, it's not like they hate each other. They're not
Yeah.
falling out because one has cheated on the other, or the other one has been caught doing stuff that they shouldn't have. It's literally
Mhm.
it just sort of like most relationships in the actual world, it just sort of ends with a fizzle rather than a bang.
Yeah, like it's a sort of like objective like thing where they've like done everything they could and now they've just gone to the end of the rope and they can't do anything else but just separate and go their own ways. And the way the show handles it is just beautiful and not over dramatized. Even like the way like even in like the next episode where Ted deals with it, like don't like he's not like angry or bitter about it. He's just really sad that it's over because that's all he knew. And the way they handle his like panic attack in the episode afterward was just beautiful and just oh
Yep.
god, I love the show. Like
It's
I need to watch it
it's
again.
it's dealt with so well. All the characters are just people, as you
Yeah.
say. There's no, oh well, he's the angry type where he's always angry and he'll never be angry. Well, look, he's not angry anymore because he's found this one thing to make him happy. No,
Hmm.
they're just it. It's almost as if they had actually done it in real life. Is
Yeah.
how it
Like it.
feels, in my opinion, from watching it another twice through.
Mm,
It's
like
like they literally just filmed people.
hmm Like it's the sort of show, like the show's writing, and I think you and I were talking about the writing about this so much, and I don't like doing the whole comparison because it's kind of easy. But Breaking Bad for me is like my favorite TV show because of multiple reasons. But one main reason is the show's characters, where they all just feel human, and by the end, where like things kind of like crash and get destroyed, the human element is never lost. Ted Lasso has the writing elements of Breaking Bad, where all the characters do not feel like these over the top caricatures. They're all just these people trying to do what's best for them and their friends and all that. Like, sure, Walter White as a character is an evil, evil piece of you know what, but he's a human character who's doing what he felt was right. And then by the end, we kind of learned that he did it for him eventually at some point. Like, he stopped doing it for the family and did it for him. And then we have like the character of Ted Lasso, who's just this unironically lovable character, not for any like reasons. He's just this really nice guy who just wants the best for everyone. And we follow him in the show, just sort of like learning to appreciate his team. And he even gets to a point where like he snaps at like the Jamie character because the Jamie character is this cocky so and so, and he lectures him about like the benefits of like caring about your team and whatnot. it's
Sorry, my flatmate has decided to open the door on this dark room.
I don't blame the flatmate. It's getting quite dark and quite spooky. So yeah, I love Ted Lasso. I'll agree with my friend Martin. It's probably the best show of the year because it's a show that we all needed.
Yeah, there's nothing more we can say about it. Watch
Mm.
it if you get a chance to do Apple TV. We'll do a slight sponsor if they want to pay us. I'm pretty sure it is only around £8 a month.
Actually, correction. It's $4.99.
£4.99. Well, they must be. I wasn't sure because I do it via my Apple Music, where I
Yeah,
am one of those students, so I get to freeload all the time.
yeah. I don't have like Apple Music. I just kind of used Apple TV Plus. I mean, sure, I have an Apple account, but the benefit of having an Apple account is that you can watch other stuff and pay for them or rent them. Like I rented Possessor on Apple TV a while back, and that was pretty solid.
Yes. So Apple pay us, basically, is what we're saying. Apple, this is our sponsor to you. We are genuinely happy, Apple executives that are obviously listening to this show. We are
Yeah.
happy to be paid to do an Apple TV podcast if you want, and just have
I
two
am.
folks from Edinburgh watch everything that Apple TV has pushed, and we will just do
Yeah,
that.
I'll watch Mariah Carey's Christmas special and not cringe. And in order for a sponsorship, I can do that just fine.
I'll finally finish the morning show, even though, in my opinion, it's so long.
I'll happily watch Ted Lasso again. In fact, no, not just again. I'll watch it every day. Nothing else. Sean, what's the latest film you've seen? Latest films. I don't watch films. I'm a Ted Lasso watcher. I watch Ted Lasso every day.
We are more than happy to sell out as much as you need us to, Apple. We will never watch anything on Netflix again or
I
Amazon Prime. Well, Amazon Prime maybe. I still need to finish. Like, I've caught up with This Is Us, so I'm now watching it with the rest of the world. So I have to wait for it, which is awful.
Yeah, no more waiting for us. We'll go to Apple TV Plus where all of the episodes are there. No
We will
waiting.
do
No waiting.
whatever you need us to do, Apple. We will wear Apple glasses, which I'm sure is a thing, Apple hats, whatever. We will drive Apple cars because I'm sure you're going that route at one point.
I will own an Apple phone because I'm not a movie villain, which apparently movie villains are not allowed to have an Apple phone. It's actually kind of hilarious, a little detail. But yeah, I will own an Apple phone because I'm a good human being who watches Ted Lasso like a good little boy.
We are more than happy to do the Spider-Man Sam Raimi level stuff where everyone has some sort of Sony device for some reason. We are happy to do that kind of stuff.
Pay us, Apple. We dare you. We double dog dare you. We'll be the best shills you'll ever see. I
Let's not
know, because I
antagonize
used to.
them. Let's not
I,
dare
you,
them to pay us because they'll just go, no.
no. You didn't let me finish my point because I used to be a big shill for Disney. Because when I went to see The Last Jedi, there were two guys in suits. They pulled me aside. They were like, "Hey, you going to see this new Star Wars film?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to see this new Star Wars film." And they were like, "Here, boom, there's a stamp. We own your soul now. Go like the film." Sure thing, Mr. Disney man. And
Yeah.
since then, I've been a
And
shill for Disney.
Apple, if you're not interested, we're more than happy to be media whores for anyone else that's listening. We'll
Yeah.
watch as many ridiculous sixes as you want. Happy Gilmore Productions.
Hell yeah! Like hell, you know what? I'll even shill myself off to Netflix. I'll become a Netflix shill. And then when people accuse me of liking a thing for being a shill, I'll be like, well, you're right. Here is a legally abided stamp that I have on my chest that they own my soul. It's including this company and that company and this company, including Criterion.
Only if you want to pay us. I'm not sure if your streaming service exists anymore. What was it, Crackle or something like that?
QB Noel's DreamWorks. Even you know Katzenberg, Jeffrey Katzenberg, Mr. Katzenberg, man. If you're listening to
This is our
this,
last year. This is our last episode of the year. Just pay us whatever you want. I'm
yeah,
currently
we
using
will.
a Zoom microphone. Zoom, if you want to give us stuff, and we'll
I have
pimp it out.
I have a Samsung phone. Samsung, you ever come up with a streaming service? Make me your sponsor because again, I'm a big old shill man. I can shill for anyone. I'm good at speaking positively about literally anything, even if you're a shady
And the
corporation like Disney.
G Fuel, even though I don't drink the actual powder anymore, but the cup's really cool. They're more than happy to get sponsors from G Fuel. I'm pretty
just
sure you do canned stuff now. I'm happy to have carbonated
just
stuff.
Just sponsor us, okay? Please, we're really
Just
good.
sponsor
We'll
us.
just
Loot
talk
Crate.
like
I'm
about
not
your
sure if you
product.
exist anymore, Loot Crate, but we'll take that.
Like we
We'll
don't even
take
have it here,
anything.
but we don't even have it here. But HBO Max, I will praise the death of cinema. HBO Max, if you give me your licenses to shill you out like the big boy that I am, I will call you the greatest
Hey,
streaming service to ever happen. If you
Warner
let us
Brothers,
shill you.
do whatever. Zack Snyder, Scott Snyder, the Snyder family will watch and read whatever you do and will be
even
happy with it.
even Justice League, I will swallow my pride and shill the hell out of Justice League because I'm a good shill. Because there's one thing that I was really good at when The Last Jedi came out was shilling all the way.
Now that I literally have to keep it in, shall we end?
Yeah, I gotta say that was the perfect ending. I was just Martin and Sean have a shill breakdown.
Now
The
that we're
battle
done
of the
being
shills.
now that we're done being media whores, let's just end. What was the phrase you came up with last week? I like that. Thanks for walking around our skulls.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah, might have to take a listen back to it just in case. Then write it down because I remember what I came up
I
with.
like to wing it every time. We'll have a different thing. Next time it'll probably be different, but thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We've had a pretty, I want to say decent, but even then, that's being too kind to 2020. But I think in terms of what we're doing with the podcast, hopefully we'll have more future stuff in the to do in the future. Hell, we can even have a studio set up with two of us sitting at each other in the future. Hopefully,
Not for the next like 4 years, I imagine.
Listen, I'll tell you what. Say in 10 years, when we somehow finally get rid of this virus, if it doesn't get worse, and we're like 40-year-old men or 30-year-old men, we will do this podcasting across each other. Like, so Sean, what have you been up to since? I've been sitting in my house, becoming a kind of a hermit. But you know what? It's actually going okay because I've got all that shill money, baby.
Yeah. Hey, send us again. We're happy to be media whores for whatever you want to send us. Even though we've got maybe a view count of 10
we're just we're
altogether.
just we're just letting you know that we're going to sacrifice our critical and creative dignity just to be part of the Shield team.
Anyway, have a good new year, no matter how bad it gets.
Mm.
Merry Christmas. And Sean's going to say whatever he needs to say in less than 10 words, and then I'm going to
All right.
stop the recording. Go.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Love to you all. Hope you're all doing okay, and Happy New Year. And yeah, just take care of yourselves and love each
That
other.
was maybe like 50. Goodbye.